nos conectamos a través de nuestras raíces. Por eso la importancia de nutrir ese espacio.
Just going towards the end, but we want to talk also about the mind, but not just about the normal mind, the embodied mind, because the mind has bad press in the spiritual circles, and for good reasons.
Voy a hablar un poco sobre la mente, porque la mente tiene un poco de mala reputación, sobre todo en ambientes espirituales, por buenas razones.
Porque la mente normal, decimos, the mind that you have learned for kind of educational process and cultural process, is a mind that is here, it's analytical and intellectual and taking all decisions and getting busy with things, and of course it's like fucking fully stressful.
Porque claro, la mente está muy estresada y es la que toma las decisiones, la que piensa, es la mente analítica.
Next. Pero cuando la mente está rooted in the body,
when the mind is encarnada en el cuerpo,
work and connected to the heart, and conectar con el mundo vital, connected to the vital world, is also like passionate, you know, and warm and connected. It's not just that kind of cold mind of abstractions.
Cuando la mente está conectada con el cuerpo es una mente realmente apasionada, excitada, conectada, que puede servir para propósitos.
What is normally called kind of wisdom, in a very simple way, describing here as a mind that is really connected to the wisdom of the heart and the instincts and the body. It's like really like understanding all those knowledge, and then can bring like a more holistic understanding to whatever situation.
Y una mente conectada con el corazón y con el cuerpo y con la sexualidad, pues es una mente holística que puede traer conocimientos holísticos.
And this is important here too. It's also like some mind that becomes then flexible and playful and curious. You know why? Because when it's rooted in its own home in the body, it doesn't need to root in ideas, in abstractions, in universal truths, in absolute truths. That is what the dissociated mind does all the time, looking for foundations and safety. Here, that theory, when it's put it in its own home, there's no need for that.
Cuando la mente está conectada al cuerpo, no necesitamos como ideas con las cuales identificarnos o las grandes verdades, así que no nos conectamos con ellas, sino que simplemente nuestra verdad es la verdad de lo que sentimos, de nuestro cuerpo.
And it's simultaneously passionate and humble, you know, and these are qualities that in our culture also are hard to find together, you know. Most passionate people are very arrogant, and more humble people are a little like, not too strong.
Sí, y es una mente encarnada puede traer cualidades de pasión y humildad a la vez, que es algo que no vemos tan a menudo. Gente muy apasionada a veces no es tan humilde, gente humilde a veces no es tan apasionada, y como que una mente encarnada pues traería esta conjunción de cualidades.
Why? Because the knowledge, the mind that has gone through your entire personhood has passion, because it's like it has all that energy. It's not just this smart idea that you thought yesterday. It's something. It's the product of a process of like a elaboration of knowledge from all of who you are. So it's a personal dimension, and at the same time, it's humble because the mind knows perfectly that it's not its own knowledge. It's something that just came through her. She's just like a gardener, you know, for the flowers to bloom. We don't. Está diciendo es como que la mente puede ser aquí apasionada y humilde al mismo tiempo, ¿no? Es apasionada, ¿por qué? Porque el conocimiento de esta mente encarnada es un conocimiento que pasa a través de todos estos niveles, ¿no? Es instintivo, es emocional, ¿no? Es personal, no hay una pasión, está basado en una elaboración dentro tuyo, ¿no? Que hay un sentido de decir esto es importante, ¿no? Pero al mismo tiempo es humilde, porque la mente conoce perfectamente de que ella no es la que causa este conocimiento, ni la que lo inventó, ni la que lo posee, simplemente como un canal, es como el jardinero, ¿no? Que cuida de un jardín y entonces emergen las flores. Y finalmente también una mente que gradualmente pues, se va pacificando e iluminando más. ¿Por qué? Porque cuando la mente se da cuenta de que tiene el cuerpo, que tiene el corazón, tiene el instinto, tiene todos estos niveles, ¿no? Y es parte de un equipo colaborativo, socios iguales, no es la jefe, que es el estrés, el jefe es el estrés siempre, o sea, ¿vale? Todos los niveles, ¿vale? Entonces se da cuenta de que no tiene que hacerlo todo ella sola, de que es parte del equipo, puede tomar decisiones con todos los otros miembros, ¿no? When the mind is connected to all those levels, all those wisdoms, all those intelligences, it knows directly, not just knows directly that doesn't need to take all the decisions by herself. It's part of like this team, and this kind of like relaxes the mind and makes it more porous also to that greater knowledge, that theory of consciousness, that the mind will never be able to understand rationally, but it can align with, it can connect with. And even a glimpse of that connection brings a greater pacification to the mind, because then the mind knows directly that it doesn't need to know everything.
Sí, lo has dicho antes en español.
Vale,
lo has dicho en español y en inglés.
Vale, perfecto. We're not going to get into this because this will be like another thing, but it's also the importance of when we're grounded in our bodies, we're also more grounded naturally in nature, because our bodies is part of nature, right? Much more than other parts of ourselves, And there are many theories today from psychologists saying a lot of the floating anxiety that is kind of affecting so many people. It's like we need two groundings: grounding in the mother, in our mother, or primary caregiver, and grounding in Mother Nature. The two groundings. When the two ground is problems, there is a lot of anxiety. Vale. No voy a entrar mucho en esto, solo voy a decir una cosa, que es que obviamente, claro, cuando estamos más, habitamos más nuestro cuerpo es parte de la naturaleza, clarísimamente, ¿no? Aunque andemos y somos árboles, es muy claro, ¿no? Y hay gente del campo de la ecopsicología han hecho análisis bastante buenos que dicen que mucho de la ansiedad flotante, los problemas de ansiedad que la persona occidental moderna sufre constantemente, ¿no? Están basados en la necesidad de un dos grounding, como dos enraizamientos o apegos seguros. Uno en la madre, en el cuidador primario, la primera madre, y después la madre naturaleza, ¿no? Cuando hay fallos en uno de los dos, hay problemas de ansiedad. Pero bueno, sí. Next. Bueno, voy a hablar un poquito del taller brevemente y entonces ya iremos acabando para ver si hay preguntas o una cosa, ¿no?
I'm going to start talking about the workshop and then we can open up for some questions and commentaries.
So the workshop is based, the tool, the main inquiry tool is what I call embodied interactive meditations. Son meditaciones encarnadas en contacto físico entre participantes. Obviamente una vez en el taller una persona siempre puede elegir no participar, es un espacio que no hay presión para nada, obviamente.
You can always choose to not to participate in all the proposals if you don't feel like, because some of them are...
There's other ways always to participate, like observing a room, for example.
You can be like an observer.
But definitively, you need to understand that you're interested in the workshop. That's a workshop that will have the main tool is physical contact. So comfort with physical contact, it feels important, and also not to be paranoid about what's going on with closeness between people, even though, of course, you can do the workshop with an FFP2.
Sí, que por supuesto pues sería interesante que tengas presente que va a haber contacto físico y pues, si estás muy preocupado sobre lo que pasa, pues igual lo puedes hacer con la mascarilla también.
What type of contact is what I call mindful contact. Contacto consciente. Exacto, ¿no? Why? Because the different centers, like in our culture, most of our education has been going through the mind. So different centers are in different evolutionary stages,
Hablamos del contacto consciente, la verdad que normalmente hemos desarrollado mucho la parte más alta, pero que los diferentes puntos energéticos del cuerpo están evolucionados de manera diferente.
Sí, están en distintos estados evolutivos, ¿no? So for these centers to really engage in your life as co-creator with the mind in your life, they need to be again vitalized and enlightened. The physical contact brings the immanent energy in the body, brings the vitalization, and the mindfulness that is being brought there brings a more transcendent light.
Hay que vitalizar estos para estas prácticas vitalizamos los cuerpos, los vitales.
Con contacto físico atrae la energía inmanente espiritual del cuerpo, esa energía vital, y la conciencia que se está poniendo a través de esta energía de la conciencia, ¿no? Entonces, claro, para que esos cuerpos puedan empezar a funcionar, necesitan tener energía y dirección, vitalidad y luz, porque si no hay energía no nos podemos mover, si no hay luz no sabemos dónde ir. Bueno, esto lo vamos a dejar. Es un enfoque que es biomimético en el sentido de que todo el enfoque se basa mucho en la observación de los procesos naturales. Es a biomimetic approach. It's based on how natural processes in nature, like grow, get stagnated, like bloom, you know. So that's part of the metaphors that we'll be using or in there. And it's also a word that comes from, I would say, feminine. I don't like those words because they can be essentialized and not problematic, but the feminine principle in the sense that it's a word that is very organic. There will be some guided practices, but very soon, like participants with what you have learned, you devise your own practices based on what you have experienced. So it's not just me or a book telling you you need to go from here to here to here, but it's your own experience that's going to be guiding you in your own path.
Vale, es un enfoque que llama biomimética, que usa las metáforas de la naturaleza, como el enraizamiento, el florecimiento, cómo funciona la naturaleza, es un poco lo que inspira su trabajo, y también esta idea de una mirada femenina en el sentido de que él va a haber algunas prácticas guiadas, pero no es él que te dice todo el rato lo que tienes que hacer, sino que llega un momento donde tú realmente puedes estar a la escucha de lo que necesitas y sentir hacia dónde quieres llevar un poco tu proceso.
Es como, claro, si vamos todos juntos en el mismo autobús a todos los sitios, ¿no? Todos juntos, todo el grupo juntos. That's great, we're going to see a lot of great things.
Está genial, vamos a ver un montón de cosas.
But the purpose at some point you're going to take your own car.
Pero en un momento vas a tener que
go where
coger
you
tu coche
really need to go independently from the rest.
y irte a tu historia.
And that's where the deepest clicks of transformation can take place.
Y ahí es donde realmente hay una transformación.
Because it's a practice that finally you choose to bond with other people, and we'll do a bit of that. The course is 1.5 days, so the first day will be more guided, to begin with, to learn the tools, and then Sunday we'll open into more co-creative work, also with guidance.
La formación es, este taller es de 1 día y medio, entonces el primer día va a ser un poquito más guiado y el segundo día pues habrá oportunidad un poco para más la exploración personal.
Miro el autobús después de todo.
First class and then...
Ya acaba ya, ¿no? No puedes pegar. Next. Estas son las fotos de pictures of one of the classes at CIS in California. One of the classes that were using this work. I did this work also at the university level for many years as a way to inquire into topics. It was like a more integral education. The workshop for here is going to focus on transformation and personal inquiry. It was very different. But here you can see, for example, like some of the kneading, like some of the rooting practices here. Next.
Sí, estas son unas fotos del trabajo que he estado haciendo, por ejemplo, en la universidad. Igual dice que este trabajo era como para que fuera un poco más práctico, pero lo que se propone ahora en Ibiza es como una propuesta más transformativa, como de transformación personal, de crecimiento personal.
Y este es un ejercicio de enraizamiento. Vale. Este es una meditación en el centro vital.
This is a meditation in the Vital Center.
Aquí puede también tener otros tipos de contacto que solo serán revelados a los participantes del taller para mantener el misterio. Ahora, it can also involve other contacts, but they will only be unveiled to the worst participants to keep a bit of mystery. So, next. Otherwise, es como, yo sé todo, yo lo sé todo.
No me interesa. No me interesa.
Y ahí está haciendo una práctica muy interesante de, fíjate, son 2 personas, hay prácticas que se pueden hacer entre 2, entre 3, entre 4.
Bueno.
Es una práctica que están trabajando en la integración del corazón con la parte vital por la espalda, que es donde se acumulan todos los contenidos más inconscientes, ¿no?, en la persona. So when you work, you can work on this side, you can work on this side as well, but those of you who have studied somatic psychology of any kind, like in the back, or the parts of our body that we cannot see normally, especially with a mirror, it's where all the unconscious contents get accumulated. So sometimes it's very interesting to work in the back and then going towards the front to attract those contents into the light and to see.
Aquí está haciendo una práctica conectando el centro del corazón con la parte sexual, pero por la parte de atrás, que es importante también trabajar aquí, que es donde está todo lo inconsciente, para aquellos que trabajan con la psicología somática o como prácticas corporales, ¿no? Como psicología corporal, pues esto habla de que toda la parte de atrás es donde está todo el
Sí, se acumulan los contenidos inconscientes, ¿no? Los energéticos, materiales, me voy a reprimir, las cosas se acumulan mucho en la parte trasera y estos trabajos pueden también ayudarlas a traer la salud. Siguiente. Bueno, ya estamos acabando. Frutos potenciales de estos trabajos, potential fruits I've seen over the years of this kind of work. You don't need to translate because they can read in Spanish. And experience of bodyfulness, I had some, when I offered this work in Japan, I was sharing this with you the other day, I had three Japanese participants crying, saying, it's the first time I experienced my body actually. So in Japanese culture, very repressive in many ways of the emotions in the body. It kind of felt you like an experiential X-ray, into your own constitutions. What are your parts? How is the relationship between your consciousness and your vital energy, your heart and your vital energy? That experiential, I'm not going to tell you. Your experience is going to tell you. This is the organic approach from the experience, not from the family. I'm not going to be telling people your experience will tell you. It could be also like a awakening in different ways of those centers, and that's an experience that can happen, and I'll leave it there also to create some mystery. Integration of those worlds, we have been talking about that already. Could be a lot of integrative work happening there. And then the work also can give you a lot of clues, a lot of smoke signals, for your own path, that you can later apply in your life, and clearly also call it spiritual individuation, in the sense that through this work and others, each person is laying down your own unique pathway, and in solidarity and mutual enrichment with others, with contrast and resonances, There will be a lot of resonances, experience with Bernardo maybe in this practice, there will be a contrast experience with Sole, and all that gives you information. You'll also be playing with different roles, receptive and proclivator in all the practices that gives very different information. It's not the same to offer, to unconditionally accept another human being and practice that, than to receive, to be unconditionally accepted by someone. I can have one of the two roles could be much more easier for me than the other, and that gives a lot of very valuable information about potential imbalances in your life or things that you would like to grow in that direction. And then, what I mentioned before, there could be energetic pregnancies. So watch out, you can leave the workshop pregnant. Pregnant of yourself. And it can activate those vital seeds, and this after a process, it can really, inform your everyday life, like a new way of being, a new way you walk in the street, a new way you relate to your intimate partner, something happening. Next. And this is just the last words, and not too many words. But this is just for those of you who are in the clinician or the healing profession of any kind, like working with people, and I think many of you are, this work would be also important, really to understand the importance of somatic changes for the stabilization of states of consciousness, in a way, as well said before, very often it's like we access these states and we come back, and the old habits come, the old ways of being come, because sometimes what is needed is not just a new software, we need a new hardware to get the new software operative, So through this kind of work, the kind of change is kind of more energetic structural into the constitution of the person that can hold new softwares. Also to integrate spiritual experiences, I use also this word for integration, especially also entheogenic psychedelic experiences, very, very helpful, those of you who work in that field in some way. it's one of the greatest challenges of our secular culture, right? Everything is available, but the integration piece is the greatest challenge in the States. I think it's here too, in Barcelona too. And these practices that bringing into the body can really help a lot. Importance of we have already talked about this, the transcendence, and then also for the therapists, this work can give you like a kind of new seeing, like that really about respecting and learning of not only your body but also your client's body, and the importance of the holistic development of the therapist. That this holistic is the most important when you are here. Okay, so I'm gonna go slide. Okay, that's like that kind of index of rooted transcendence, that the work works in that direction, like we're firmly rooted on the earth, open to everything that is there, but while being firmly rooted. That's the horizon. El horizonte del trabajo es esta experiencia de trascendencia enraizada, ¿no? Está enraizado en tu cuerpo, enraizado aquí, pero al mismo tiempo abierto a todo lo que existe, ¿no? Vale. Pues voy a dejar con unas citas y acabamos. Una oriental budista, ¿no? Las veo en inglés, aquí está en castellano. Within this long and languid body lies the totality of life, right? As a rose we all, Everything that emerges in the mind starts with a sensation in the body. This comes from his own phenomenological, meditative, scrutinizing of his experience. Next one. I really like this one. This is Nicholas Kazantzakis. I don't know how many of you know him. He's the Greek mystic. He wrote Soul Body Greek and also The Last Temptation of Christ. Amazing guy. It's like, in my interior, even the most metaphysical problem takes like a physical incarnation that smells to sea, to soul, and to human sweat. The word, and the word is with capital letters, the logos, is the mind of God, it's the divine order. The word, to touch me, it needs to become warm flesh. Only then I can understand, when I can smell, when I can see, and when I can touch. And we'll have the last one from our indigenous perspective, it's a little long, but I think it's worth. Gloria Saldua, Marazteca. It's like only through the body, only through the pool of the flesh, human soul can transform. I mean, that sentence in itself, right? If for the images, the words, the stories, things that have these transformative powers, they have to emerge from the human body. Flesh and bone, and from the body of the earth, the stone, the sky, the liquid, the soil. This work, these images, going through the lobes of my tongue and my ears with the cactus needle, are my sacrifices, my offerings from my past life. Beautiful, no? So I think we'll leave here and maybe we'll come to a bit of light and then let's see our time and how.
Son las 8:10. Así que tenemos unos 20 minutitos para charlar y es now
15 porque al final habría que hacer el...
Vale, so it's 8 to 10, so we have 15 minutes for some questions, comentarios, preguntas. There's like a conversation, open conversation about the workshop and about the concepts.
Yes.
Sobre el taller y sobre los conceptos, las dos cosas.
If there is questions about the workshop, to give them some priority because if we can clarify something for someone that would be important, but otherwise can be our anything. And it doesn't have to be questions only. It could be like sharing of your experience, something that resonated with, something that didn't, whatever, anything goes.
Que pueden ser también comentarios, no hace falta que sean preguntas, sino que también puedes comentar como contar algo personal si os apetece compartirlo o... A mí, de la misma charla me venía una frase de una canción
que se escucha bastante, que es para llegar a Dios hay que aprender a ser humano, ¿no? Y con todo lo que contabas es un poco este trabajo, o sea, me ha encantado, ¿no? Las metáforas que utilizas de poner luz, ¿no? Para poder ver, ¿no? Y entender, claro, eso es la iluminación, ¿no? Es simplemente iluminar el camino por el que estoy caminando aquí, desde lo humano. Y bueno, sí, simplemente que cuán importante es en estos momentos en los que tenemos tanta información, el poder pararnos como para integrar todo este trabajo, ¿no? En el cuerpo. Y bueno, compartir esta reflexión.
Genial.
Que me ha encantado, me ha inspirado, me encanta. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Me resuena todo lo que dices. Totalmente.
Just that she was like briefly saying that illumination and the inspiration of the spirituality is just to bring light in your path in this earth. What you need to do right now on your physical body, and this is the true meaning of spirituality.
Jorge, más o menos, ¿no? Jorge, a mí me quedan vueltas algo en la cabeza de los tiempos actuales de hoy, ¿no? Que tú has dicho en un momento, todos los que estamos aquí hemos nacido de un acto sexual. Y quizás generacionalmente es verdad, pero ahora con la posibilidad de la in vitro y todo esto, este matrimonio alquímico del que habla de las energías, que tiene una impronta en ese ser, ¿no? Una impronta energética, hablando de espiritualidad y sexualidad. Hay un vacío ahí, ¿no? No sabemos cuál va a ser esa impronta energética y en esa unión espiritual, con esa... No,
Sí.
She's bringing an idea of like, okay, you say that we all come from a sexual act, but nowadays what happened with these new things that, for example, in vitro burning, no? There is like a void of this. This energetic. What's the energetics of this? She's thinking this too.
¿Cuál va a ser la huella, ¿no? Espiritual que puede quedar ahí? Claro, es un misterio, ¿verdad? O sea, es un misterio mismo de la vida, claro.
Hablamos de esto.
Claro, we don't know.
We don't know. It's probably too soon to know, but I can tell you, like, in all my life, I felt like the moment of conception was equally or even more important than the moment of birth. That is the one that gets all the attention, for example, from astrology or from perinatal psychology or transpersonal psychology, those things that we're all, it's like the birth. Birth is super important, but what's going on in the moment of conception? And what the meaning is, like, come together in that moment of the first, right? And in that, along those lines, I always felt some concern to what you're speaking to. But at the same time, I've known, one of my best friends in California who she gave birth at 56 years old with another women's sex that they chose, her partner, and actually she gave them birth after having lost 2 babies. After 9 months in the baby, the hearts stopped beating, and then they tried again, and had these amazing babies that I've lived with them, and they're now like 5-6 years old. They're full of light, so it humbles me. It humbles me in the sense like I feel like I don't know, we don't know, like intuitively I was feeling like, wow, what's going to be the impact of that totally along the lines, and then I see that and it's like, who knows, Yeah.
Yo creo que independientemente, aunque lo artificialices, el acto al final sigue siendo un acto sexual, de alguna manera.
Sí, claro.
Even artificial is a sexual act.
Yeah,
somehow.
Yeah, well, the union of the sperm and the egg, it is. Right?
Yeah, like even if you put it like with
right.
Probably
Yeah, but I always thought like her, like, well, it's not the passion of
la emoción energética, el fondo de la huella energética, por tomar la espiritualidad y el acto sexual